Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Ari Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, Be'ez Hashem, we're here finishing up Perek Gimel, the last few lines of Perek Gimel. So we said the first thing that a person needs to do is make a cheshbon and nefesh about what the right thing is in life. What are you supposed to be doing? And now, and after a person does that, then a person needs to start thinking about, well, what am I doing? First you have to think about, what's the right thing in life? What's the right thing to do? And the next step is, well, am I doing it? Am I doing that right thing? So really, that's really a natural thought. One leads to the other. When a person starts thinking about, what's the right way to live, automatically they're going to start thinking like, am I doing that? But really a person needs to get into more detail about that and really think about it, because the more a person thinks about themselves and what they can do, the more they will actually change. A person doesn't want to feel like I'm doing the wrong thing in life. He doesn't want to. A person wants to feel good about themselves and they want to feel like I'm doing the right thing. And if they and if they don't feel like that, they're going to feel guilty. They're not going to feel good about themselves, which is why most people in the first place won't even start. But a person needs to do that. That's the only way to improve. And this is what the Mesilas Yesharim is telling us. This is the tried and true path. It is through this way, through this path, that a person will make it easier. It will be easier for a person to straighten out his ways. Like the pasuk says in Mishlei, Pales ma'agal raglecha, consider the paths at your feet, and then all your ways will be established. Meaning, think about what you're doing, and then you'll actually be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish in life. The pasuk in Eicha, we search out our ways, and we philosophize about them, we think about them, and then we'll return to Hashem. This is the main point. This is the starting point of avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem, when a person is younger, consists mostly of getting into good habits. We teach children, even though they don't necessarily really understand why they're doing what they're doing, we teach them in order to get into good habits. If a child gets used to not getting up for Shacharis, and then you tell them you have to get up for Shacharis, they're not going to be able to do it. It's going to be too hard to do. They're just not used to it. And it's just going to be too hard. They have to get into a good rhythm and a good hitraglut. Person has to get used to doing good things. When a person gets used to doing good things, when his mind develops, then he can understand, why are you doing those good things? If a person doesn't get used to doing good things and then his mind develops and then he has to start fresh, it's much harder. Yes, for Bali Tshuva have a certain siyata d'shmaya when they get woken up and they see that, whoa, there's a whole world out there, and they're inspired. That inspiration is a gift from Hashem that gets them to be more accustomed to doing all the new things that they never did before. But at a certain point, things wear out. That inspiration wears down, and if they didn't get used to things by that point, so then it's going to be very, very hard. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them that gift. If they wouldn't have that gift, it would be extremely, extremely hard for a Baal Tshuva to be able to do anything. But they have that inspiration, that initial push to change, and they're actually able to do it. And that's really a great thing, because that brings out this point very well. It's a thought. Hey, wait a second. What's my life about? And if I really think about it, so then I'm going to change. But we still, that same Baal Tshuva shouldn't be giving to his child, you go off and do whatever you want and discover God on your own. No. It's not supposed to be like that. That's certainly not the lechatchila. We're supposed to certainly be mechanech our children to do the right thing. We're going to try our best. And then when their minds develop enough, then they'll actually be able to understand why they're doing it. I actually saw this idea in a sefer just the other day, that before a person is the age of 20, I think it's brought from a Radak he brings. Rabbi Stark has a sefer, it's called Yesod HaBayis, and he brings from a Radak, I can check where it is, but he brings from a Radak that before the age of 20, a child who sins, somebody who does a chet, is not necessarily 100% chaya for it. Min hashamayim, yeah, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at it. He looks at it not as a pesha, but as a chet, meaning it's a lower level. And the reason why is because before the age of 20, your mind isn't developed enough to understand really what you're doing. There is a certain understanding. While you're already bar mitzvah, there is a certain understanding, which before bar mitzvah, you don't even have that. But from the age of bar mitzvah until the age of 20, yeah, there's still a gap of das, of true understanding. And that gap allows for mistakes to be made without really understanding what you're doing. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself knows that, and because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't treat it as severely. Only when you get to that age of 20 years old, where now a person will be chai midinei shamayim, it's because now you really do have the das. Now you really do have the ability to think. And now you will be responsible for the things that you do. And especially if a person does them, b'mezid. Because you do have das, you do have the capacity. What do you have to do? You have to stop and think. Stop and think about it. Not at that exact moment, because that's going to be too hard. Think about it beforehand. Make a plan. Figure it out beforehand. Okay, with this, we finish. Hashem. Next time, we'll start Perek Dalet.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.